hello Callum, and
Hello.
welcome in umbraCoffee episode 287.
Wow. Are we really only 13 episodes away from the big 3-0?
Yes,
That's crazy.
time flies. How are you, Callum, today?
Fine. Busy. Very, very busy. I think I say the same thing every week, don't I, to be honest? But yeah, it's been a really tough week.
I've been having a reflection on the busyness this week, and that's something what I had discovered myself. I found a really interesting TED talk. I can't remember the name of the professor who was doing this talk, but it was about ER and hospitals and how they are taking the priority over things and how they categorize the people who are approaching the ER. And she said that she will never mention that she is busy. There was an adjective next to that, so extremely busy or something like that, right? So because there is always a priority that this takes our responsibility, and I completely understood that because I was also always busy, always busy as well. But it's intentional business, so that's good. It was an interesting week, not maybe directly in the Umbraco community, but around open source and around everything. And we will, of course, talk about it today. So yeah, shall we start? And maybe let's start from Umbraco releases, because there were a couple of them to be mentioned. And 12.1 release, right?
Which is, we discussed a couple of weeks ago, isn't it? I think the headline feature is this member type compositions, or the idea that compositions should really be able to be used on any type, I guess. I saw already on a tangent, but I saw the other day someone asking, is it possible to use content apps or context apps, or whatever you want to call them now, in like on member groups, I think was the question.
Mm-hmm.
And it's another one of those things, just like member types just like compositions, where you probably expect to be able to use those anywhere you're creating like a content type or an entity. It's the same sort of thing with the context apps. Like I feel like someone just needs to do a sweep over and go, should this feature be possible here? Yes, no. I think member types was the last one, thankfully, for those. But I'm sure there's plenty of other context app places that could be done. And then the same thing.
Yeah, what I figured out recently, I worked a lot with the search indexes this week, and I found this update really cool and really in place because I didn't realize that we were missing it at the same time. So small things like that, like even this pagination details, number of returned results, and stuff like that. Small improvements for something what was just normal for us when it was missing. I reflected on this today when I was reading through this article too, because that's exactly something what I completely ignored, and now it's here, and of course it will improve the general behavior of examine dashboard. Plenty of this, plenty of other ones, creation, translation for back office, and of course performance enhancements for some of the areas of the application, with much more of this 60 bug fixes and feature additions in this release. And 39 of them have been contributed by the community. So that's a really nice turnout and number. So 12.1 ready to be upgraded, but
maybe don't upgrade.
Yes, small information, but there is a workaround. Yeah. But great result of the release was that it was reported that there are some issues with upgrading site from 12 to 12.1, and it was caused by the one of missing initializers for the delivery APIs.
So in obviously in V12 by default it ships now with the delivery API there, and I guess the default is that that's added. And for existing upgrading projects, of course, you have to modify the startup CS yourself. So without adding that back in to the startup CS, it was giving you an error, which, as Ken acknowledged, it absolutely shouldn't. The simple fix is add the add delivery API extension back in, and it has no negative consequences for doing that, because it's not going to be enabled. You have to enable it in config as well. You're not going to accidentally expose your whole site via the delivery API. But it's not on there by default. So if you're upgrading from, anything prior to 12, you need to make sure you add it, and they'll fix it. But I guess this is It's going to spawn out a docs PR probably for some of the upgrade guides.
Yes, exactly.
And it highlights a really interesting point about release candidates, which is, I guess people test the release candidates out by just installing it from scratch, not upgrading sites. And so this didn't get caught.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying, and also within my teams, we always try to install fresh instance, check it out, what's new, and I used to have one project on my local machine previously, which I was updating, which had some content, some typical use cases that where we were testing, like huge examine index, for example, or something like that. That would be really cool to see something like this, and of course test run against this with the migration paths and stuff like that, because it will expose it really early, and it seems like it didn't. Right, so that may be something to be noted, also by our Umbraco team, because that can be caught up really early before releasing this. Too.
And it also comes back to something that I've been saying in my team for a while and trying to share in the community as well, that my belief is that this startup CS file and the program CS file that Umbraco ships with are not our property. They belong to Umbraco. And this is kind of a case in point where they are requiring something be there, and you need to update that as part of the upgrade. If you start adding all of your own dependency registration in there, or even custom extension methods to do other stuff, you start to blur those lines, and those upgrades get a little bit messier. So we're of the view that we put everything in composers, and you'll see there add composers straight after add delivery API. So it's running in the same pipeline, but it's just a little bit of abstraction away, so we don't have to worry about Umbraco here. And it was announced last week, or confirmed last week, that on the roadmap is to move to the minimal hosting model, which will change all of this again. So if you're already using composers, I'm guessing that will just migrate over fine, because composers will still run. If you're heavily modifying your startup CS, you're still going to have to migrate loads of stuff. So that's my opinion, but from the panel, we think this is the best way of doing it.
And that's also what some of the teams also acknowledge by keeping Umbraco solution as a separate project and trying to extract everything what is possible to be extracted, of course, but it's not always possible to extract everything. And that opens up the discussion which you exactly highlighted. So we'll find out how it will work, but now it's definitely something what is changing the approaches from the team's perspectives. So yeah, that's the update. Probably there will be a patch release pretty soon, and we are all glad for Richard here for catching up and reporting it from his team's activity too, and we'll get it fixed soon, I believe. So that's Umbraco's releases. Following that, there was a release of something what is called Unblazer. And this looks really interesting, because I don't know, Callum, what about you, but I hear a lot about questions still. Is this Blazer a thing? Should we really use it? Is it a web forms on steroid? What is that? Right?
I'm still so skeptical. But yeah, people are keen. I know that Lee Messenger, for example, has been playing around with it. I know that Cornet's been playing around with it. I know that Jamie from or the rebranded, it was called .NET Core Show, it's now the modern .NET Show, but he did a talk about Umbraco Blazer with Blazer with headless in like ages ago, long time ago. So there's been some interest for a while, but whether it's something you'd want to use in production, I don't know. I just don't know. But it's cool to see these kinds of demos.
Yeah, so this is a kind of proof of concept, front-end starter kit, however we'll name it, running the Umbraco with front-end rendered by Blazor and Razor components instead of traditional MVC views. So for everyone who didn't play around with Blazor yet and is familiar with Umbraco, it will be a combination of both and a good learning exercise to see how it can be done and what maybe benefits or the downsides it comes with. So I definitely will share it with everyone who is interested, but I'm also skeptical. And especially
funny. So every single Blazor example I've ever seen
counter
is a counter. And of course, even though this is like, it's still got a counter on it, because that's the only thing that people actually decide to build.
Yeah, counting production ready counter. So that's again, I would love to see more real life use cases with maybe heavy client side backend backed processing of the data. But of course, it needs to be exposed, written, converted into case study or whatever to let us all discover that. But of course, this is a good example. And yeah, I already see that people who are interested in Blazer will definitely check it out. So maybe more of it will come over, and we will all feel more convinced at some point of the time.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. And to-do lists, yes, like Cornes. Yeah, state that. Skybred and Anders released also an updated version of his importer package.
So this is for
version 10.
10, 11, and 12, and
Yes.
beyond, I guess. This is, so, I mean, I don't know about other people.
I
didn't know this existed for 8, and we've gone through phases of just SQL scripting, huge amounts of migrations in. We've gone through, I think we worked with someone who had a console app that does an import as well, takes like a JSON file and imports it. This is fantastic and should just really be there out of the box, in my opinion, because we get given a huge batch of things. The other thing I wish it would do, it doesn't do here, maybe someone could put a PR in or something, would be to consolidate huge amounts of data into like some patterns. So if you've got 3,000 URLs that are all this plus slug, and it's just that plus slug on the other side, just make it a pattern, and then it's one entry in the database and not.
And maybe some use of AI in between that to recognize. But yeah, I do remember, and for me personally, it was probably most awaited feature for the Skybred redirect for a long time. And there were some forks created by probably Heather and a couple of other community members who were using it for various Umbraco versions. Also, Matthew did some kind of fork back in the days, and we were using some pre-compiled versions of libraries across our projects just to have the CSV import functionality there. And now when I saw this screenshot, it just looks like a native functionality of Umbraco, and that looks perfect. And I think that this is exactly what the really nice solution for redirects management should look like and have functions. So very great work by Anders and the package here team. So that's impressive. So that's Skybred, and there were plenty of other releases you mentioned, right, on the marketplace.
Well, because we got a new version of Umbraco, we got a new version of uSync as well. That's just like,
yes,
I guess how it works now. uMarketingSuite, some updates there. But if Corney's watching, your release notes link goes to the Our Umbraco site, and they've not been updated in ages, so we can't talk about what awesome stuff you've done. Please. We will. SeoVisualizer, Personalisation Groups, and a ton more. What's that ShareX custom upload? I think we've spoken about that one before.
Yes, probably. Or updated and made over.
Oh, no, it was listed. It was listed a few days ago, so it's new.
ShareX custom uploader, restarting the new context menu. Custom uploader of files. Yeah, so that's something definitely new.
I think I saw this tease somewhere at some point. Or something similar, where it gives you like the schema, doesn't it?
I
don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
In the notes.
Yeah, we'll definitely update that. So that's from the community updates, and now we can start a topic that was very attractive and popular amongst the open source projects, contributors, .NET developers, everyone basically, because I saw even the GitHub's ex-CEOs and people who are right now in Stack Overflow teams being involved and sharing their feedback. And that's all about Moq library and the recent updates being rolled out back.
Should we start with what Moq is? Because
yes,
I don't know it exists and how it maybe affects the Umbraco community. So say object mocker for .NET. So allows you to create instances of classes with custom data in a sort of factory type pattern, and you use it for testing. So it's a nice easy way of saying, okay, like I want to create a dummy version of this or a dummy implementation of something, and it's very popular, like 500 million plus downloads. And it's used in Umbraco for testing also. So it's used by their testing libraries. It doesn't ship with the core itself. So you've not got it installed if you've installed the core, but you've got, if you're running the source code locally, you'll have Moq installed on that repository. And
And these are the numbers that package generated on NuGet. They are impressive. So 25 million of downloads of the version 4.18.4.
And to be clear, that 4.18.4 version, I believe, or 4.18 point something, is the version that Umbraco is using.
Yes, exactly.
The thing we're about to talk about does not relate to those versions of the package. So that's fine.
And these were fine. But at some point, what generated the whole drama and the whole issue was that the package maintainer and creator with the nickname KZU decided to ship a sponsor link reference, which was...
to be clear, sponsor link is his own project as well. So sponsor link is a project he's created with the idea that you could use a .NET analyzer as part of your build process to say, does this person sponsor me on GitHub or Patreon or some of these other sources? And if so, either unlock special features or give them a nice thank you message in the build output, which even then, even the whole idea of something dropping information into your build output is a bit controversial. A few years ago, Linode, which is like a fairly popular Linux hosting service, they bought advertising space, let's say, in the build output of popular NPM packages. So they'd pay an author to put a little banner in the build output saying, hey, we're hiring, or go download, go try Linode, $5 or something. And people don't like that because it pollutes their builds, it potentially slows them down. Someone raised a question on here saying, why has my build now slowed down by 1.6 seconds after this release? You don't know what they're doing. And Microsoft's defense to this is, well, we're giving people the opportunity, the flexibility here to do what they want to do, but it doesn't necessarily, we don't have any restrictions there. So someone could do something, you could, mine Bitcoin as part of. And
that's a point that I wanted to really raise. And there's a code that some of the good-willed developers found out because they decompiled the library. The whole source of the problem was that the library was obfuscated and compiled, attached from the external source, and it wasn't open source.
So it feels like a bit shady anyway.
Exactly.
You're trying to hide something. Yeah.
And as you've mentioned, it was in the analyzer code, which is usually used for the IDE to do some analysis of the code. So analyzer was doing this. It was creating new processes and starting the Git and getting the user email from the Git process and sending it to the external CDN URL that was processing and doing something with this hashed information about the email. And that was shady. That was very shady.
The argument is it's hashed, so it's not sensitive information.
Plain.
You could nowadays with you can the way it works on the server side, on his side, as he's explained, is he compares the hash that's been sent as your Git committer email against a list of known hashes that he has for emails, people who've, I guess, sponsored his project or whatever. And then he can go, yep, that's a match. You are a sponsor. The problem is you're comparing a hash against a known hash. So if someone else was to obtain that hash and also have a list of known hashes, you can determine what someone's email is. Equally, if we're just talking I don't know, SHA-256 is fairly hard to brute force, but it's not impossible. If you wanted to chuck a lot of compute at it, you could reverse some of these algorithms. So the argument is we shouldn't be sending this data anyway. We shouldn't be sending this data without the knowledge of the person who's just installed the library harmlessly. Or maybe even their Visual Studio settings are just set to take the latest version of a library regardless, or their open source project they contribute to, and suddenly have maybe in a hashed format, but you've got to trust them on this, have that email then sent somewhere. For privacy-conscious companies like in the EU and the UK, where we have GDPR, and other places in the world with strict data protection rules, that's a complete big no-no, and rules out using these libraries in many big corporations. You also, even just at a simple level, you risk exposing private internal email addresses for people that you don't have the consent of, or exposing your personal email as opposed to your work email, or vice versa. It's a big minefield there. And
but also in the data-driven world, and referring to all of the documents that are flying around Netflix and other platforms, when we hear about this data usage, things like when you are building the project, how often you are building the project, right? Why someone might need to know that, and if they don't intentionally want to know that, someone might need it, might use it. That's a very sensitive information, and that's from where this kind of communication started, because a lot of people got the day ruined by some reports and information. And this can relate us to the discussion which is about sustainability here, right? Because why he has done it. He has done it because he felt like he is doing a lot of work for free, and he was not happy by the whole probably ecosystem and sustainability, or lack of sustainability in all of the activities, and he wanted to get sponsored. And that was a very drastic move.
So to be fair, I understand the reason. I get it. We know for a fact that James South has been incredibly vocal on how image sharp is widely used, even by Microsoft. And James chipped in his thoughts on this as well, and he said, I put this down to naivety rather than malice necessarily. He understands the premise of what this person's been trying to do. James said he gets asked by like Microsoft for, we've raised a bug, or we found a vulnerability, can you fix it? He doesn't get paid for fixing those things. And that's the ultimate big issue. There's a wider thing here, and we've not linked to all the blog posts and things that he's written, but the author said a few months ago that he was going to be doing this, and his attitude in some of the other places has maybe been a little bit off. I don't know. His thought was, rather than getting your employer to pay for something, like, shouldn't everyone just be chucking $5 in, like of their own personal money instead? Yeah, maybe. I think it gets all quite political ultimately. But the fact of the matter is, he's done something that's got a lot of attention, has brought attention to the debate about sustainable open source and funding open source properly. And it makes you think if there's a better way. Ironically, in doing this, he's probably also lost all trust forever.
That's what I wanted to mention, and a lot of people told him during this conversation, because I grabbed the coffee yesterday at probably 1 a.m. or something, and I was come through all of this communication, and a lot of people said to him that, you are building reputation for years, and you can lose it in 5 minutes in this kind of thing. But in this case, he lost a lot, and he was involved in a lot of conversations, and of course defending himself, defending the motivation. And I same as you, I do agree with the motivation here.
He really doubled down, and that's again the problem. When you screw up, you have to go, okay, I screwed up, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You've got that short window where you can try and turn things around. He doubled down for a whole day on, no, this is the right thing to do. For context now, this change has been reversed. But the reason it was reversed was not because of the privacy implications, or the fact that this is a bit shady, or the community backlash. It's because it broke builds on macOS. Anyone running the latest version of Moq on macOS had an issue. And then there's been further controversy since, because rather than just removing sponsor link, he just removed the reference to it from the project. So it's actually still shipping with the library, but it's not active. So it could come back at any time once this issue is fixed. And again, that creates further problems. People had concerns that sponsor link was completely closed source, and they had to decrypt it, decompile it to find out even what it was doing. He's open sourced it now, which is a step in the right direction. But again, the tool is there to ultimately scrape details and pass it to a third party. You can see on the issue just how many people are linking to replacing with this alternative, and even here, Callum, the first reply to his release note is and then substitute link with 100 votes up. And I saw also some scripts that people are running in their projects to replace all of the syntax from Moq to and substitute. And that's a really interesting drama to observe, because I think the conclusion here is like how much we are dependent in the whole software development in general from people or single units or single dependencies like this. How far is the trust level for whatever we are using, any dependencies? Should we use dependencies? Should we vendor lock ourselves in some of the areas of the cases? That's a very huge... In our chat, like, we don't necessarily always know or look at what our dependency graph. And we're not just talking about our direct dependencies, but the indirect, maybe 3 or 4 packages removed indirect dependencies. I think in the node ecosystem, it's been a much bigger issue where popular packages would get bought or hijacked and malware would be installed with them. It's been less of an issue in .NET, but I think this is the first real drama we've had where someone has done something quite like this. It got delisted from NuGet. It got removed fairly promptly. The .NET Foundation came out and released a statement, even though it's nothing to do. It's not a .NET Foundation project. It's not. He's not taking funding from them, but more to say, to highlight the issue. Yes, we need to talk about sustainable open source.
And a lot of people reported him to GDPR places, and it's this link that I've also linked in the notes is like, it's despite of any motivation on financing of open source system, it was a violation of law, and that shouldn't happen. And it was shady on how it was rolled out, because now it's a mitigation of the situation, and it's not also mitigated pretty well up front. So that's a lesson for all of us, I think, because we all make mistakes, and we all will make mistakes. Umbraco, all the projects, clients work and stuff, and it's all about communication. And we often get back on the umbraCoffee that Umbraco handled communication up front. It was very clear, admitting to mistakes. We've made mistakes. We broke something. This is the fix. It will be released or won't be released. And that's clear. And when it's not clear, it's a lot of potential points of views that are maybe not the ones that are corrected.
Definitely. And we said this last week. Developers have opinions. There's always going to be opinions, isn't there? And especially, I think, a political change like this, where someone feels like something's being taken away from them, or they have to pay money. But maybe we need a mindset shift as well. Like, I do think we want to be supporting open source. I know Umbraco contributes some money towards those. Nick Chapsis, who's a fantastic YouTuber. If you've not subscribed to him, he did a fantastic video on this. A few people accused him of using attention to generate ad revenue, and okay, whatever, maybe. But at the same time, he donated all the funds from that video to support other open source projects. We can do better at supporting them. It also made me think that probably this concept's not a bad idea. The idea of giving someone a reward in a package based on them sponsoring on GitHub or something. And I feel like it could be fixed the other way around, where the GitHub a VS extension could expose the list of projects that someone is sponsoring, because they're already logged in to Visual Studio probably with a GitHub account. You could expose the list of projects you're sponsoring that way, and then the build could pick it up, through a different way, rather than dealing in personal data.
There must be a way, but it might exactly result in the approach taken from GitHub directly or Microsoft, because he also called them out. He asked them for their opinion, and I think it will reach out to them, because it was very nice drama to interact with. So we will see, and we will definitely look for any resolution or updates from the situation, and maybe for another idea of the longer, bigger conversation about it. We would love to hear your opinions, guys. So please let us know what you feel about this situation. If you haven't heard about it, catch up. We'll leave the main links and the main entrance points for the whole gate, and grab a big cup of coffee or tea or anything else, and then spend some proper time analyzing the discussions between developers, companies, and open source contributors. Because
there's a lot of reading to do here. It can get a little bit argumentative and whatever. It's an interesting one, and go into it with an open mind, kind of evaluate the debate. It's quite good. Another person that I can recommend, I don't forget his name, it's someone called Aaron on Twitter, and he's been incredibly balanced throughout all of this. Aaron Standard, incredibly balanced and giving really good opinions, mainly on the side of open source maintainers, but also saying, admit this was probably handled badly, but let's work out a way to move forward. And it's been really good. So
definitely share your opinions, and you will also have this opportunity to talk about it on today's barbecue with some of the people.
Yes, we're having a barbecue. We had a barbecue last week in Leeds. It was really good.
Yes, I have it on our list as well. It looked awesome, and the weather was supportive. Was it good?
just about on our side. It was good. Yeah, it was successful. I think Ali did an amazing job of being chef. There was a situation with lighting the barbecue where somebody decided to use a blowtorch and then singed all the hair off their arm. But
oh, okay.
Yeah, we that wasn't our fault, and it won't be happening today. Let's say, but yeah, we're doing a barbecue in London tonight.
Yes.
And the weather.
And of course, the link is also here, right? The link is also here. The weather is promising, you say?
It's fine. That's all I'm going to say. We'll see.
In the UK scale, it's very high then, so that's good. So yeah, these are the closest opportunities to discuss not only the open source dramas, but everything else Umbraco and not only. So be sure to tune in. There's also the closest Umbraco meetup in Turkish community group run by Bushra and with Nurhak speaking, and it's on August 15th, so next Tuesday. The link is here. And two more, the closest ones, UmBristol talks on 16th, and the Kent Umbraco meetup on 17th. So full week of packed meetups. And yeah, then the bigger events and some reminders for us all. UK festival, Umbraco UK festival.
Yeah, buy your tickets.
Buy tickets, submit a talks.
Yeah,
right?
That's my biggest call to action. We've only got 3 weeks left, I think, of the CFP. We've had some really awesome submissions currently, but like the more choice, the better, I guess.
Yep.
And we're going to start announcing a first batch of speakers fairly soon. If you'd like to be have the opportunity to speak, there's plenty of space, and also shorter format, like 20-minute format, or a longer format, 45 minutes. So if this may be your first talk, that's perfectly fine. We can support you, help you with producing a talk, and yeah.
Nice. And same reminder for Dutch Festival, which is happening on 28th September. Tickets are on sale, and same for US Summit.
The web page has changed. Oh, look at that.
Yes, I haven't seen that too. So let's check it out. So 2 or 3 days events, community, business, and partners, early bird tickets, and the speakers list is announced partially. So Bjarke, Lottie, Christian, Philip, Adam, Kim, Elizabeth, and Lee will be speaking already. So
is that's for, I guess we don't know still which of the 3 events that's actually for, though.
Yes, that's.
Find out from Lottie.
Yeah, we'll definitely find out more. But it seems like it's progressing, and there are some tickets on sales, and everyone there and maybe interested in going there will follow up and continue exploring. Which is the event is in October, so plenty of time to. Not that plenty, damn it, not that plenty.
It's like
yeah. I got myself, but yeah, that's event-wise, and a couple other things to mention. There was a headless community meeting, headless community, Umbraco community meeting group, however it's named. We discussed and recapped on everything what happened on release of Umbraco headless APIs, delivery APIs. Matt gave a really nice demo of Umbraco Headless Commerce done with the already worked on commerce storefront APIs. That's the name that will be used for the delivery APIs of the commerce information. And it was an amazing website. I don't know why it's not working anymore. I wanted to show you guys, but something is being changed now. Maybe something is updated. But this is the site. This is the demo project, which is on Umbraco GitHub public repositories. And it looked amazing. It worked amazingly fast. There was a variant combinations, content being received from the delivery APIs from Umbraco. It was running on the latest version of Umbraco as well. The whole process was working. So there's a lot of great work already done by Matt and the team there to to ship with the commerce APIs combined with the delivery APIs. That's amazing. That's really, really amazing. So yeah, everyone who is interested to see how it works, what it does, go and check out this demo. And the team is working on some future updates and discussions. And of course, as any other teams, we have a catch up in September as well to do more around this area. So I will definitely share more if I will have more information about it.
The headless API is, I believe, for commerce is scheduled for Q3, which is we're halfway through currently. So
yes,
I guess we'll be seeing a lot more of this coming up.
Yes. Yep, and that's really, really cool to see. So yeah, we'll keep an eye and update you guys about anything new there. Other than that, there were a couple of community activities to highlight, starting from the drum being moved again.
In this thread, there's a bit of history about drum. So this is from Code Garden in I think 2015, maybe.
Yeah, 2015.
Where Jonathan won a drum as part of bingo, or someone won a drum as part of bingo. Jonathan ended up taking it on a bit of a tour around Europe, and then it ended up back in Bristol, and it's been kind of passed around agencies that don't want it for the past 10 years. And yeah, it's now made its way over to IO.
Yes.
Who are hosting next week's Umbraco meetup as well.
Oh, okay. So maybe they will pass it forward sooner or later. So yeah, that's a small update from there. And there are some community office hours already scheduled for August on 22nd of August. We are all invited to discuss anything what we want and ask some questions. There's a agenda and the registration form shared by Umbraco here, and a couple other things. That was interesting one.
This is
that
cool.
was interesting one. Yeah,
this
is G2 for all of the people who might not know it. All of the analytics and data gathering companies are making surveys and they are asking people, users, clients about various things. Also, CMS vendors and clients are asked for a lot of the questions, and one of these are G2 reports, and Umbraco was making a lot of efforts to collect a lot of feedback.
Yeah, they had like back office pop up like a while ago, didn't they? Or a message in the back office and on umbraco.com and everything.
On Code Garden, there was also a huge action to collect a lot of the feedback from G2, and it looks really great. And right now, Umbraco has 600 reviews. For example, Optimizely has only 150 reviews, and these reviews are great in majority of the cases, and that's really, really nice information for us as Umbraco users, clients, agencies, because we can use this to speak with the clients, with the prospects, and everyone who might be interested in choosing a CMS platform, because that's really cool.
Interesting as well. Like, as obviously some places it didn't score the best. It was pretty damn close in most cases, though. But like we've got a few things we can take away from that, and we can go and learn and improve. And so it's.
Yeah, I was really, really surprised by the amount of the reviews, because I personally was scanning through all of the reports, including Gartner, including some other places where Umbraco is listed, and it looks really great in G2 area, because it shows the popularity of the platform, and some of these areas are really seen from the company's perspective. So that's really good, and great efforts from the Umbraco team. I know that a couple of the people from HQ were behind this success, I would say. And yeah, keep it up. And people who might want to leave the review and ratings can still do it. It's really helping for the platform to have
the other interesting a couple of interesting takeaways for me from this, actually. Firstly, Kentaco is our closest matched in terms of quality, according to this, which I never have expected, because we always seem to talk about Sitecore and Optimizely, but Kentaco is definitely a big player. Secondly, if you scroll right to the bottom, there's a breakdown of how long it takes, average time to implement a site or time to live. If you see, maybe we can zoom that in a bit.
Never is 4%.
Yeah, but like if you compare the top up to a day type thing, like of course Sitecore, Kentaco, Optimizely are barely anything at all. But look at average time to actually launch something is 4 months, alongside Contentful, which is a headless CMS. It just shows you how Umbraco, I guess, doesn't get in the way, and is a really powerful tool there for building sites with.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, so definitely it's worth keeping an eyes open and listen to the feedback, also from the Umbraco perspective to users and clients, but also for us. It's a really nice source of the information for package creators as well, because we might want to spotlight a room for a potential package or integration or third party to fulfill the gaps, and that's what I plan to do more often as well. So yeah, that's this, and a couple of the stories being shared this week too. Rock solid knowledge journey to becoming a B Corp. So that's a huge accomplishment from the company's perspective, and a lot of paperwork, and not only to achieve this. And Emma and the team shared their road to this, and Umbraco is very supportive and proud of having companies and agencies like this. So yeah, definitely read about it, and if maybe your company wants to be a B Corp, ask some questions how to do it. One article from the field about the running Umbraco on .NET Core on a free Oracle Cloud Linux VM. That's also interesting.
I always forget Oracle has a cloud, but I guess it's
yeah.
not really targeted at us.
But Terence is exploring a lot of this kind of areas recently too, and this seems to be a really interesting alternative for cheap hosting or even free hosting of Umbraco stuff. So if anyone is interested, check it out because it's well written information on how to do it. Less and easy to understand for us here is this article highlighting Soren's activity around Umbraco community, and not only was written by the local Danish newspaper and portal. So that was shared across the web, and for all of the Danish and not only Danish community members, check it out as well. And kudos to Soren for being highlighted like that. And last but not least, we speak a lot about other CMSs today, so why not to close with WordPress discussion?
Right. Indeed, and I'm going to say I love this.
Me too.
Really, really, really good. and I think when we were sort of conceptualizing what the block list editor might want to do, Gutenberg and their editing experience there came up a lot. It's got its flaws as well, and but this is a new. I think it's concepts at this stage still, but new proposals for the WordPress admin, and it's gorgeous. It's really, really gorgeous, and
very clean, very atomic. They have their own comment palette. They also have their own design system. If they even probably name it like that. It was somewhere down WordPress design system. Yeah, so it's composed from the box.
You can't directly compare this to Umbraco because it is a different beast. However, WordPress do an amazing job of each year, or with each major release of WordPress, releasing a kind of a theme, a template for the website where you can get up and running really quickly, and they look really good. So like you could build a site using this theme, and it would be perfectly fine actually. And they've done a lot of work on making this as intuitive as possible. It feels more WYSIWYG and Squarespace-esque, let's say.
Yeah, I was going to say that it reminds me a lot of this kind of low-code or even no-code website builders platforms, and also Sanity CMS, for example, which is very clean, Contentful, and a couple of other ones which are oriented on the data, so more headless-like. What might be maybe, I don't know, one step towards making WordPress a little bit more wider than just for blog pages, custom page types. No one knows, but it looks really clean. It looks really nice, and there is a long blog post. I'm still scrolling, but one thing that I wanted to share is this multi-site ability. That's something what caught my attention, because I must admit still that I host a couple of WordPress sites for my side businesses and side activities, and this would help a lot to have this kind of.
You can do multi-site in WordPress. You have to enable it in code, and then it reveals all these other bits of UI that you don't have otherwise. Here, they're kind of just putting that at the fingertips of the user, which is great, and it's close to what we've had in Umbraco for obviously ages. But yeah, it just looks great. It looks really, really cool, and I hope we can maybe take some take some lessons.
Learn from it, basically explore and inspire. That's exactly, I think it's a good time for us as well in the whole Umbraco too, because there's a new back office design system, UI being developed. So this is plenty of choices that can speed it up for the future. And it proves that even with the beast like WordPress, the big UI changes are still possible, because if we'll have APIs, if we'll have the user journeys, UI is in theory just a UI then, right? So it's it can be decoupled and it can be shifted. So we will see, and potentially I'm sure that we have a lot of clever, creative people inside of our community. So I mentioned it a while ago that I won't be surprised if there will be some custom back office implementations for APIs when the APIs will be fully rolled out. And it might be something to be considered. And that's all from our list today. A long, interesting discussion about various topics. So that's we missed a couple of the things. And thank you, people, for highlighting this. Clean starter kit update from Paul Seal. Aaron updated his AMP checkout with the new RC and a couple of the other ones, probably, which we missed. So please reach out to us if there are something to be mentioned in the next episodes. And that's all for today.
That is all. Yeah.
Anything else to add, Callum, from your side?
I don't think so. It's been a busy week.
Yes. So enjoy the well-deserved barbecue.
You're having a week off next week, Marcin, aren't you?
Yes. I'm going to Finland and to Tri-City here in Poland for a couple of days off, and I plan to not take my computer and mobile and disable all of the social medias and things. So that's a very ambitious plan, to have a proper week off next week. So I'm not ending this episode as usually. See you next Friday, because I probably won't be there.
Well, see you in a few weeks then. Good luck. I hope you don't have to do any work and manage to stay.
I'm sure I won't be able to even do that. So that's good. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your week and the weekend ahead, everyone. Thank you for being with us. Subscribe, like, and do anything else what can help us to reach out our internal goals to 1,000 subscribers. Maybe reach out to any open source friends who might want to be interested in our point of view to the drum, and share your feedback and join us for the next UmbraCoffees as usual.
Have a great weekend.
Cheers.